She took 24 plasma strikes meant for the hidden heir to the celestial throne, and when she opened her eyes, everything had changed. The servant girl was gone. In her place stood a regent with ancient power coursing through her veins. 2 dragons coiled protectively at her feet, and a stranger introduced as her husband. Standing in the shadows of her new chamber, the first blast seared through Lyra Whitestone's shoulder as she threw herself in front of Prince Dorian. The second tore through her side. By the 5th strike, she could no longer feel her legs. By the 12th, the world became nothing but white-hot agony and the desperate need to keep moving, to keep her body between the assassins and the masked figure behind her. She was only a servant, a low-born elf who tended the palace gardens and kept her eyes down when nobility passed. But tonight, when the Shadow Collective came for the prince, the last surviving heir to a throne most believed empty, Lyra had been in the wrong place at the right time. Or perhaps the right place at the right time. Depending on how one looked at death, the 24th plasma bolt caught her square in the chest. Lyra felt her heart stop, felt the electrical charge race through every nerve ending in her body. She saw Prince Dorian's masked face turn toward her, saw his hand reach out, saw his lips form words she couldn't hear over the roaring in her ears. Then there was nothing but darkness and the sensation of falling through an endless void. When Lyra woke, she was not in a hospital bay. She was not on a cold morgue table. She was lying in the softest bed she had ever touched, beneath sheets that shimmered like starlight, in a chamber so vast and ornate it could only belong to royalty. Her body felt wrong, different. She lifted her hand and watched in stunned silence as faint blue light traced patterns across her skin, ancient elven marks she had only seen in historical archives. Marks of power, marks of station. You're awake. The voice came from the shadows near the window. Good, we have much to discuss. Lyra sat up quickly, and the room spun. That's when she saw them. 2 dragons. One was the color of molten silver, no larger than a hunting cat, with eyes like blue stars. The other was deep crimson, slightly bigger, with scales that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They were perched on an ornate stand near the fireplace, watching her with an intelligence that made her skin prickle. What? Her voice came out hoarse. What is this? The figure stepped from the shadows. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the distinctive pointed ears of high-born elven nobility. His face was handsome in a severe way, all sharp angles and calculating eyes the color of storm clouds. He wore the formal attire of a royal consort, deep navy with silver threading that marked him as someone of considerable rank. "My name is Commander Nathaniel Voss," he said, his tone clipped and professional. "And as of 3 days ago, you are my wife." Lyra stared at him. "I'm your what?" "Wife, bride, spouse, legally bonded partner." He crossed his arms. Prince Dorian enacted an ancient law before he disappeared into hiding. You saved his life, took the strikes meant for him. By right of sacrifice, you inherited his regent authority until he comes of age and can safely claim the throne. That's impossible. I'm a servant. I'm nobody. You were a servant. Nathaniel moved closer, and Lyra could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his jaw. Now you wear the regent's ring and carry the bloodline mark. The palace healers used forbidden's magic to save your life, magic that transformed you. You're no longer entirely what you were. Lyra looked down at her left hand. Sure enough, a ring of white gold and celestial diamonds sat on her finger, pulsing with a soft inner light. She tried to pull it off. It wouldn't budge. Don't bother, Nathaniel said. It's bonded to you now. As am I. Why you? Because the Council of Elders determined that a newly awakened regent with no political training, no combat experience, and no understanding of court intrigue would be dead within a week. You needed protection. You needed someone who knows how the game is played. His expression hardened. I was the logical choice. Former military commander, loyal to the crown, no aspirations for the throne itself. And I was willing to take the oath. The silver dragon chirped, actually chirped, and launched itself from the stand. It glided across the room and landed on Lyra's shoulder, nuzzling against her neck. The crimson one followed, settling on her other shoulder. They bonded to you during the transformation, Nathaniel explained. Dragon eggs that hadn't hatched in 500 years. The moment your heart stopped and restarted, they emerged. The scholars believe your sacrifice awakened something ancient in the bloodline magic. Lyra reached up slowly and touched the silver dragon's head. It was warm, and she could feel a presence in her mind, curious, protective, fierce. What are their names? She whispered. They don't have names yet. That's your privilege as their bond partner. She looked at the silver one. Aurora. Then at the crimson one. Ember. Both dragons thrummed with approval. A sound like distant thunder. Dad Nathaniel watched this exchange with an unreadable expression. The political situation is complicated. Half the noble houses believe the royal line is extinct. The other half are fighting over who should rule. Prince Dorian is in hiding until he's strong enough to defend himself. And you, whether you like it or not, are now the public face of the throne. I don't know anything about being a regent. I know. That's why I'm here. He moved to the window, gazing out at the sprawling capital city below. The Shadow Collective is still hunting. They failed to kill Dorian, but they won't stop. And now that you carry the regent authority, you're their primary target. Lyra felt ice in her veins. How long do I have to do this? Until Dorian is ready. Could be months. Could be years. Nathaniel turned back to her, his storm-gray eyes intense. 24 strikes, Lyra. You took 24 strikes that should have killed you instantly. Whatever you are now, whoever you've become, you're stronger than you think. Aurora and Ember chittered softly, their warmth seeping into her skin. Lyra took a shaky breath and stood. Her legs held. Her body felt powerful in a way it never had before. Then I suppose, she said quietly, you should teach me how to survive. Nathaniel's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Training starts at dawn. Dawn came too quickly. Lyra stood in the private training hall, her new body still feeling foreign despite a night of restless sleep. Aurora and Ember perched on a nearby weapons rack, their eyes tracking every movement she made. The silver dragon seemed curious about everything, while the crimson one watched with a predatory intensity that made Lyra nervous. Nathaniel entered through the far door, dressed in tactical combat gear rather than his formal attire from the night before. He looked more comfortable this way, more himself. He carried 2 training staffs and tossed one to Lyra without warning. She caught it on instinct, her reflexes sharper than they should have been. Good, Nathaniel said. The transformation enhanced your physical abilities. But enhancement means nothing without training. He moved into a fighting stance. Defend yourself. He struck without further warning. Lyra barely got her staff up in time. The impact jarred her arms, but she held firm. Nathaniel pressed the attack, his movements precise and controlled. He wasn't trying to hurt her. He was testing her limits. She blocked, parried, stumbled backward. Her muscles knew movements she had never learned. The regent magic flowing through her veins whispered instructions her conscious mind struggled to follow. Stop thinking, Nathaniel commanded, sweeping low. Lyra jumped, aided by reflexes that felt borrowed. Let the power guide you. It knows what to do. They sparred for an hour. By the end, Lyra was breathing hard but exhilarated. She had landed 3 solid hits on Nathaniel, 3 more than she had any right to land on a trained military commander. Not bad for a gardener, he said, offering her water. There might have been approval in his voice. But combat training is only part of what you need. The real battlefield is the court. Lyra gulped the water gratefully. The court? The Council of Elders meets today. They'll want to see you, assess you, determine if you're capable of holding regent authority. Nathaniel's expression darkened. Some of them supported the old regime. Some have their own candidates for the throne. And some are in league with the Shadow Collective, though we can't prove it yet. So I'm walking into a room full of potential enemies. Yes, but you're not walking in defenseless. He gestured to Aurora and Ember. The dragons legitimize your claim. No regent in recorded history has ever bonded with dragons. It marks you as someone chosen by ancient magic itself. Aurora chirped and launched herself at Lyra, landing on her shoulder with practiced ease. Ember followed, taking her usual position on Lyra's other shoulder. Their combined weight should have been uncomfortable, but instead, it felt grounding. Right. There's something else you need to know, Nathaniel said, his tone careful. About our marriage. Lyra tensed. What about it? It's real in the legal sense, binding. But I want you to understand, I didn't ask for this any more than you did. My loyalty is to the throne, not to personal ambition. He met her eyes. I won't pretend we're some love match arranged by fate. We're partners in survival. Nothing more. There was something in the way he said it that felt like a warning and a reassurance all at once. I understand, Lyra said quietly. I'm not expecting romance from a political arrangement. Unprecedented times require unprecedented solutions. Nathaniel said from his position beside Lyra. His hand rested casually on the pommel of his ceremonial blade. A subtle reminder that he was both consort and protector, Elder Marcus. Thorn leaned forward, his dark eyes calculating. The girl has no training, no bloodline, no understanding of governance. Giving her regent authority is madness. She has the ring, Elder Winters countered. She has the mark. She has dragons. The ancient laws are clear sacrifice for the heir grants temporary authority. We cannot simply ignore tradition when it becomes inconvenient. We also cannot let an untested child lead us into ruin, Thorn snapped. I'm not a child, Lyra said, her voice stronger than she felt. And I didn't ask for this position. But I took 24 plasma strikes to protect Prince Dorian. I died for him. If that doesn't prove my loyalty to the throne, nothing will. The chamber fell silent. Elder Victoria Hayes, younger than the others but no less powerful, studied Lyra with sharp green eyes. Pretty words. But the Shadow Collective is still hunting. They have resources, connections, military assets. What do you have besides 2 infant dragons and a husband who serves out of duty? Lyra felt anger spark in her chest. Aurora hissed softly, sensing her mood. I have something they don't, Lyra said. I have nothing to lose. I was already dead. Everything from this moment forward is borrowed time. That makes me more dangerous than any noble who fears losing their wealth and position. Victoria's lips curved into a thin smile. Interesting answer. Elder Thorn stood abruptly. This is a waste of time. The girl is a puppet, and Commander Voss is pulling the strings. We all know it. Nathaniel's expression remained neutral, but Lyra felt tension radiating from him. Before he could respond, she stepped forward. Then test me, she said. Give me a task. Something that proves I'm worthy of this ring. The elders exchanged glances. Careful what you offer, Elder Winters said softly. We might take you up on it. I'm counting on it. Elder Hayes leaned back in her seat. Very well. The mining colony on Talos 4 has stopped sending tribute shipments. Reports suggest a workers' rebellion or worse, Shadow Collective infiltration. Go there, restore order. Secure the colony's loyalty to the throne. That's a suicide mission, Nathaniel said flatly. Talos 4 is 3 weeks away, heavily defended. And if the Shadow Collective is there, then it's the perfect test, Thorn interrupted. If the girl survives, perhaps she is worthy. If she doesn't, the problem solves itself. Lyra felt Ember's claws dig into her shoulder, a warning or encouragement, she couldn't tell. She looked at Nathaniel and saw the concern in his eyes, carefully masked but present. She turned back to the council. I'll go. We'll go. And we'll succeed. Elder Winters inclined her head. Then you leave at first light tomorrow. May the stars guide your path, young regent. As they left the chamber, Nathaniel grabbed Lyra's arm. Do you have any idea what you just agreed to? A chance to prove myself. Isn't that what you said I needed? Not like this. Not against the Shadow Collective on their own territory. Lyra looked at Aurora and Ember, both now alert and focused. I have dragons. I have regent magic. And I have you. She met his eyes. Unless you're planning to abandon your oath? Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Never, but understand this Talos 4 will be nothing like training. Out there, people will try to kill you. Really kill you. They already did once, Lyra said quietly. I'm still here. Something changed in Nathaniel's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. Then we'd better prepare. If we're walking into hell, we're going to be ready for it. As they walked through the palace corridors, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Not by palace guards or curious nobles, but by something else. Something waiting. Aurora chirped. Nervously, Ember growled low in her throat, and Lyra realized that the real test had only just begun. The transport ship broke through Talos 4's atmosphere 3 weeks later. And Lyra immediately understood why the council had considered this. The suicide mission. The mining colony sprawled across a desolate gray landscape, its structures half buried in toxic dust. Plasma burn marks scarred the landing platforms. 2 cargo haulers sat abandoned, their hulls breached by weapon fire. The communication tower flickered with emergency lighting, suggesting limited power at best. Looks welcoming, Nathaniel muttered from the pilot's seat. Aurora and Ember pressed against Lyra's sides in the cramped cockpit, both dragons unusually quiet. They landed on the least damaged platform. The moment the boarding ramp descended, Lyra tasted metal and sulfur in the air. Her enhanced senses picked up traces of recent combat-burned ozone, scorched metal, and something else. Fear. Nathaniel emerged first, plasma rifle ready. Lyra followed with the dragons, her hand instinctively moving to the ceremonial blade at her hip. It wasn't just for show anymore. Nathaniel had spent the 3-week journey teaching her how to use it. Movement, Nathaniel said quietly. East corridor. Multiple targets. A group of miners appeared, led by a woman with mechanical augments covering half her face. She carried a mining laser modified into a weapon. Behind her, 24 colonists emerged from cover, all armed, all watching with suspicious eyes. That's far enough, the woman called out. Her augmented eye glowed red as it scanned them. We don't recognize your ship's authorization codes. Lyra stepped forward, letting the regent robes catch the dim light. Aurora spread her wings small but radiant silver. Ember did the same, crimson scales gleaming like fresh blood. The woman's expression shifted from suspicion to shock. Dragons. Real dragons. And the regent mark. She lowered her weapon slightly. We heard rumors, but we thought, rumors are true, Lyra said, keeping her voice steady. I'm Regent Lyra Whitestone. This is Commander Voss. We're here to help. Help, the woman laughed bitterly. Where was help when the Shadow Collective attacked us 3 months ago? When they killed our administrator and half the security force? When they demanded we stop shipping minerals to the throne and start working for them instead? You're still alive, Nathaniel observed. That means you fought back. Barely. The woman lowered her weapon completely. I'm Foreman Kelsey Brennan. Acting administrator, I suppose, though there's not much left to administrate. She gestured to the damaged colony. The collective gave us an ultimatum. Join them or be eliminated. We've been holding them off, but our supplies are running out. Medical resources, food, ammunition, everything. Lyra felt the weight of the situation settle on her shoulders. These people were starving and desperate. One wrong move and this mission would fail before it truly began. "Take us to your command center," she said. "Tell us everything." The command center was a converted storage facility with makeshift communications equipment. Kelsey spread a holographic map across a battered table, showing the colony's layout and defensive positions. "The collective has a base 10 kilometers north," Kelsey explained. "They've been launching raids every few days, testing our defenses. Each time they hit us harder. Each time we lose more people." "How many collective forces?" Nathaniel asked, studying the map with tactical precision. "Best estimate? 200 fighters. Maybe more. They have military-grade weapons, armored transports, and at least 3 combat mechs." Kelsey's augmented eye dimmed. "We're miners and engineers. We're not soldiers." "You don't need to be soldiers," Lyra said quietly. "You just need to survive long enough for help to arrive." Kelsey looked at her sharply. "You're the help. Unless you brought a fleet with you that I don't see." Aurora chirped and hopped onto the table, examining the hologram with obvious interest. Ember followed, both dragons studying the map like they understood military strategy. "We didn't bring a fleet," Nathaniel admitted. "But we brought something else. The regent authority to negotiate, the dragons to prove legitimacy, and the tactical knowledge to turn this situation around." "Negotiate?" Kelsey's laugh was harsh. "The Shadow Collective doesn't negotiate. They conquer." "Everyone negotiates," Lyra said, "when they realize they can't win." Over the next 2 days, Lyra worked with Kelsey and Nathaniel to transform the colony's defenses. The regent magic flowing through her veins gave her insights she shouldn't have: understanding of structural weaknesses, tactical positioning, resource allocation. It was as if centuries of military knowledge had been downloaded directly into her mind. Nathaniel trained the colonists in basic combat techniques. They wouldn't become elite soldiers, but they learned how to hold positions and cover each other. More importantly, they learned they could fight back. Aurora and Ember proved invaluable. The silver dragon could sense approaching threats before any scanner picked them up. The Crimson One's presence terrified the collective scouts. Dragons were myth and legend, not something anyone expected to encounter on a mining colony. On the 3rd day, the Shadow Collective's patience ran out. "Incoming!" The sentry's voice cracked over the communication system. 3 transports and combat mechs. "This is the big one." Lyra stood on the colony's main platform, Nathaniel at her side, Aurora and Ember perched on the defensive wall behind them. The colonists took their positions, weapons ready but hands shaking. The collective forces emerged from the toxic dust like ghosts. The combat mechs were 3 stories tall, bristling with weapons. The transports disgorged soldiers in black armor, their weapons trained on the colony. A figure emerged from the central transport. He wore the insignia of a collective commander, a stylized serpent wrapped around a shattered crown. His voice boomed across the platform through amplifiers. "Surrender the colony. You have 5 minutes to comply. After that, we show no mercy." Nathaniel tensed, ready to give the order to fire. But Lyra raised her hand, stopping him. She stepped forward, alone, the regent robes billowing around her. The ring on her finger pulsed with inner light. Aurora launched into the air, circling overhead. Ember followed, both dragons creating a display of aerial prowess that made several collective soldiers step backward. "I am Regent Lyra Whitestone," she called out, her voice amplified by the same magic that marked her skin. "By right of sacrifice and ancient law, I speak with the authority of the throne. You are attacking Crown territory. Stand down or face consequences. The collective commander laughed. The throne is a fairy tale. You're just a girl playing dress-up with pet lizards. These lizards, Lyra said calmly, bonded to me when I died protecting the heir. They hatched from eggs that refused to open for 500 years. They are proof that the bloodline magic recognizes my authority. She let power flow through her, the regent mark blazing blue across her skin. Aurora and Ember shrieked in unison, a sound that echoed across the barren landscape like a battle cry. The combat mech suddenly powered down. Their pilots frantically worked controls, but nothing responded. The soldiers' weapons flickered and died. Communication equipment sparked and failed. Nathaniel stared at her. What did you do? I didn't do it, Lyra whispered. The ring did. The regent ring was pulsing now, sending waves of energy across the battlefield. It was disrupting technology, neutralizing weapons, stripping away the collective's advantages. The commander's expression shifted from contempt to fear. This isn't possible. It is, Lyra said. Because I'm not playing dress-up. I'm the real thing. And you have a choice. Leave now and report to your leaders that Talos 4 is under crown protection. Or stay and discover what happens when you threaten people under my care. Aurora dove low, close enough that several soldiers felt the wind from her wings. Ember followed, releasing a burst of flame small but terrifying that scorched the ground between the two forces. The collective forces broke. First one soldier fled, then another, then entire squads. The commander shouted orders, but no one listened. Within minutes, the transports were retreating, leaving behind disabled mechs and abandoned equipment. The colonists erupted in cheers. Kelsey approached Lyra, her augmented eyes scanning her with new respect. I don't know what you are, but thank you. I'm just someone who took 24 strikes and lived, Lyra said quietly. Everything else is still figuring itself out. Nathaniel stood beside her, his expression unreadable. That power you used, that wasn't in any training manual. I know. Lyra looked at her hands, at the fading blue light. I'm learning as I go. Well, keep learning. Because the council is going to have questions. He paused. And so do I. The journey back to the capital took 3 weeks. Lyra spent the time training with the dragons, meditating with the regent magic, and trying to understand the power she now carried. Nathaniel watched her with growing intensity, not suspicion exactly, but careful observation. When they arrived at the palace, Elder Winters waited at the landing platform with the full council. You succeeded, she said. Something like approval in her ancient eyes. The mining colony has resumed shipments. The Shadow Collective has withdrawn. You've proven yourself capable. Does this mean they accept me as regent? Lyra asked. Elder Thorn stepped forward, his expression sour. It means we can't dismiss you as easily as we hoped. But power without control is dangerous, girl. That display on Talos 4 disrupting technology on that scale, that's not normal regent magic. Nothing about this situation is normal, Nathaniel said firmly. She did what needed to be done. The elders exchanged looks laden with meaning Lyra couldn't quite decipher. There will be more tests, Elder Hayes said. More challenges. The Shadow Collective won't forget what happened on Talos 4. They'll come for you directly next time. Let them come, Lyra said, Aurora and Ember flanking her. I've died once already. I'm not afraid anymore. Elder Winters smiled, a rare expression on her ancient face. Good, because the real war is just beginning. That night, in the chambers she now called home, Lyra stood at the window overlooking the capital. Nathaniel entered quietly, 2 cups of tea in hand. He offered her one without speaking. Thank you, she said. For everything. For training me. For believing I could do this. I didn't believe you could do it, Nathaniel admitted. Not at first. I thought you'd get us both killed. He paused. But you proved me wrong. You're stronger than anyone expected, including yourself. I'm scared, Lyra confessed. Every day I'm terrified I'll make the wrong choice and people will die because of it. That fear means you're paying attention. The moment you stop being scared is the moment you become dangerous in the wrong way. He studied her profile. You're not the gardener anymore, Lyra, but you're not just a political construct either. You're something new. Something that hasn't existed in a very long time. Aurora and Ember chirped from their perch, content and drowsy. Lyra sipped her tea and watched the city lights. Somewhere out there, Prince Dorian was hiding, growing stronger, preparing for the day he could reclaim his throne. Somewhere out there, the Shadow Collective was planning their next move. And here, in this palace, a former gardener who had died and been reborn, wore the regent ring and tried to figure out how to save a kingdom she never asked to protect. But for tonight, she was alive. She had survived. And tomorrow, she would survive again. If you enjoyed this HFY sci-fi story about sacrifice, power, and unlikely heroes, subscribe to our channel for more epic tales. Follow for part 4 and beyond as Lyra's journey continues.